from the past. That's in a broad sense. That's in the stricter sense. What's education supposed to do? What's it supposed to produce? The arts still was the center. Why was the arts the center? Why is logic, rhetoric, and grammar the focus of the medieval? Well, it's quite simple. As it should be today, the arts actually make the better man. They make a better carpenter, they make the better lawyer, make the better businessman. Why? Because it actually helps to round out the person. It's a basic heritage from which everyone should have. So in that system, we have to ask, what should education aim at normally? So that if you were going to be taken out, we're going to make you the new education czar, God forbid. How are you going to restructure education? The answer is we are going to make it as simple as possible, focusing on the arts and helping each man to find that trade to which he's suited. So now I want to move into my critique of modern education, then its costs and its solution. Modern education is plagued by two contrary ideas forced in as truth. And they operate at different levels, which is how this can occur. Because obviously it's law of non-contradiction. Two contrary things cannot be true at the same time in the same respect. So in grade school, there's a primacy on academic knowledge, for the most part. If someone's going to come up, oh, my school had shop, my school had a mechanic school. Great. Did it have a program to certify you as a mechanic, or as a carpenter, or electrician? No, it didn't. Now, the high school, as it exists today, is absolutely useless. Let me say that again. High school, as it exists today, is absolutely useless. All it does is prolong adolescence absurdly long into 18. Now, traditionally, what was a man supposed to do? A man is supposed to raise a family. How is he going to raise a family? He had to have a job. That is, he had to have some means of support to raise a family. He also had to have a certain maturity, right? If he doesn't have a certain maturity, certain manliness, certain hold-on virtues, well, he's not going to be able to do it. Now, in our culture, we prolong adolescence so that at 18, men are not men. Well, frankly, these days, at 30, men are not men. But you get out of high school, and now what's the thrust? You got to go to college, because you can't get anything without getting a college degree, which is absolute nonsense. It actually holds you back in some places. So then he's going to college. Now what happens? He has debt. What else happened? Well, he met some woman at college that wanted her MRS degree, so to speak. So now they get married and have a baby of, I don't know, $40,000 in debt, $50,000, $100,000. I knew one family that had somewhere around $250,000 in debt combined. One guy got his bachelor's degree. His wife, when they got married, she was a lawyer. She had a law degree. And now the debts are obscene. Of course, they got married and said, okay, well, and the wife said, I got to stay home and raise kids. The husband had a degree in the arts. Guess what? Actually, I don't think he was working at Walmart, but he was working somewhere in retail, not making it in a tenth of what he needed to make. Whereas his wife, who could get any job offer, A, because she's a woman, B, she had a law degree, wanted to stay home, didn't want to lose her soul in law. Unfortunately, realized too late. The problem is society is setting up people to end up in such a position where actually raising a family is impossible. Actually, we've been engineered to that purpose because modern man does not believe in the family. We want to eradicate it. But nevertheless, so how do we stop it? We have to get rid of high school. And we have to re-engineer basically our society toward the smallest possible unit. Because what do we have now? We have the high focus in high school of academic disciplines to which kids are not suited, as well as in middle school, frankly. You start stuffing kids into Algebra 2 and into calculus and into trigonometry, things that the majority of people have absolutely no use for. That doesn't mean it might not be good to learn as an academic subject, but the value of something intrinsically does not mean that everyone must necessarily partake in it. right? Engineering is intrinsically valuable. It does not mean I need to sit in engineering classes for 4 years, unless I want to be an engineer. Judging by my faculties of math, that wouldn't be a good idea. So, the next question has to be, how do we fix this problem? We have to stop the heavy focus on academics, because then you have the contrary problem on the college land. When I say academics, I mean strictly speaking academic subjects. The college end, though maintaining the academic focus, says we need practical things. We need to train people in practical disciplines. So they will start working for practical disciplines, and what do you get? Well, not exactly what we were looking for. So now you say we have no use for the arts. Okay, well that'll get your requirement here, that should get requirement here. Okay, yeah, you got this extra sociology one in. Okay, and then you get your degree in pottery. Yeah, I've seen this happen. I knew someone who got a degree in pottery, and he could not get a job. Well, it's what I wanted to do. They told me to do what I wanted to do. Okay, you didn't need to pay $25,000 a year for pottery and for parties and drunkenness. So there again, you see, that's the common experience in college today. Oh, well, I got my MBA, but I don't really want to be in business. Okay. At the basic level, society has no way to deal with people who do not necessarily fall into any of the academic disciplines. Not everybody is suited to go to college. And I see this in Latin. Not everybody is necessarily suited to be learning language. I'm personally of the opinion that anyone can learn language. I mean, back in ancient Rome, the pimps, the prostitutes, and the lowlives, and the drunkards, guess what? They all spoke Latin, and usually they had another language picked up, such as Greek, or North Africa Punic, or North, Celtic, right? But that usually is because of necessity. But if they could do it, kids in my classes could do it. Nevertheless, not everyone's necessarily suited to the classics, to the arts. It's good for them to learn and know and be familiar with, and if they have those faculties, okay. But only in a limited capacity. We're not going to beat that into them. Should every person be learning chemistry? It's good for people to have a general knowledge about chemicals and herbs and elements and different things. But outside of a basic survey, so they're familiar with the discipline, it's a useless subject to get every kid to learn. Not for some kids. Now, when I say useless, obviously we're not saying useless in itself. It's obviously not what we're saying. But in the mean, not everyone is oriented to an academic life, and that's a fact. You can agree with it or disagree with it and force feed down people, and people should have an exposure to the things. They should have an exposure to literature and to English and the arts. They should have exposure to higher levels math. They shouldn't be sitting in extra years of schooling that are absolutely useless except for social gimmicks and proms and things of that sort, to sit there and learn useless subjects. Instead, we need to be able to offer a technical route. So the academics are still there, because on the other hand, there's the other extreme. We don't need to offer these things at all. Nobody needs to learn them. And that's also false. Some people do. Some people, the people who are suited to those fields, the people who are suited to engineering and to higher level thought and, say, philosophy, the people who are suited to go back into the arts as educators, learning history and things like that, well, they need those academic disciplines, and they need them early, or language and things of this sort. So then we have to go back and turn around and say, well, how can we address both? It's simple. We need to set up high schools with vocational programs that, instead of just having an elective in, say, mechanics or woodworking, or they have an elective where they do different woodworking projects for a year, home economics, things of this sort, whoop-de-doo. That's not going to do anything for you. You need courses that offer certification that can allow you to get apprenticed to people in the field, that allow you to work for them. And then you can get your own footing in as your own business, or as in the medieval terminology, as your own master of your own business. We need to impart those skills to people in their high school years, and we're not doing it. We're forcing them in all these classes. You got to take Algebra 2, okay, Calculus, okay, you got to get your AP, this and other things.